Oh, it is currently at 1.8 billion. So we grew 1 billion in the last 3 months. Fuck you. It's mine. So if you want it, you can pry it from my cold, dead hands. There were plenty of announcements, worth shitting your pants over. There were so many fucking announcements on day one.
And then it
Yeah.
fucking ripped, and I was like, fuck my life. Anyway. Welcome to Soul Brothers with my dear friend Eno and myself, Simon, where it is our job to throw you into the Solana rabbit hole.
You get the hottest alpha, the behind the scenes takes from us. That's the whole point. If you want to know what's going on in Solana, we're the place to learn about it. I mean, there's no one else who's more plugged in than us, quite frankly. So not to, brag.
Guys, we're doing it again. Soul Brothers are live right now. We're recording as well a new episode for our podcast, Soul Brothers, that you can find on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on YouTube. And yeah, I think you had a great weekend behind you. Lots of shit that happened. Everyone's talking about Catstanbul, and we saw your face because you were the main moderator, if that's correct. So I think you definitely have some alpha to share that we will dig deeper into in this episode. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. If you stick around, we're going to be talking about all the shit that went into Catstanbul leading up into it, kind of some of the major announcements, answering any questions that people might have. It's going to be a fun time. But first, the market dumped, Simon. What the fuck? What happened?
I'm right now in Bali. I caught like a little infection, so I slept a long time. I woke up, I look at my iPhone, and I have the prices, right? Like right here at the screen, right? So I have Solana and Bitcoin always right there. So I tap on my home screen. I'm like, $220 Solana. Wait a second. When I went to bed last night, I was at 260. Like, we do have to obviously take a moment to look at the charts right here. And I'm going to start with the BTC chart right now. And I'm going to start with the traditional zooming out again and taking a little glance at the big picture here, because in the big picture, the little red candle that we just see here actually, doesn't really matter at all, because that's the BTC chart in the daily view, starting with 2020 bull run, and then a long as bear market through 2022 and 2023, and then 2024 picked up again. And right now we're here at a new all-time high for BTC, trading between trading between 90K and 110K ish, and we're still in that range. So if you look at the daily candles here, I think, bullish momentum has not cooled down significantly. There's a major resistance zone defined here around the 91K, 91.4-ish. I think as long as we're holding above that level, this is why I have my alarm set in this area as well. If you're holding above that level, I think the bullish momentum to the upside may continue. And right now we see like one of the bigger daily ones to the downside. But I'm not too worried, honestly, like from my side, about this pullback right now. It might be a good chance. I was waiting for another pullback. Might be a good chance to buy in. I will keep looking at the chart for the coming week. I think right now it's just Monday, so the week has started. I think US markets are not even open yet. So let's see the next 24 to 48 hours, what Bitcoin is doing. I think we might see some more pullbacks right here. But then this is a buying zone for me that we could define to buy into, everything between 91 and where we're trading right now. If we see another impulse down, then I think I would watch for even a pullback until like something like 75-ish. But that's definitely less likely, in my opinion. Realistic, but less likely.
Yeah. Why do you think that Solana dumped so much, kind of relative to Bitcoin?
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, is it relative to Bitcoin? Is it that much? Because I think like we see a price decrease of 13% on Sol, and on the Bitcoin chart we see 6%, 7%.
Okay. All right.
So it is more definitely, but Bitcoin is also like a couple times the market cap of Solana.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little
bit. So
bit.
I think that heavier assets, they're a bit more sluggish. They move less. Solana, there's no real reason. I try to, reconstruct why Solana dumped. I think it's the usual, Bitcoin pulls back, then capital flows out of the alts and the smaller ones as well, which happened here. Then all the liquidations get triggered. It's just like people are just getting wiped out, which is normal. So people who, for example, like I didn't open along. I was waiting for confirmation at this triangle that was playing out here. If I would have seen a breakout to the upside, I might have opened along. But I think there were people that were anticipating the next upwards move, and they started their long positions. Maybe you have started your long position, dear listener. I hope you had your liquidation level either below where we're trading right now, and you're right now sitting it out, or you had a tight stop loss at the next kind of resistance here, because this move right now broke the triangle, and right now I think we're going to see, we might see a bit more pullbacks. So what I'm expecting in the short term, guys, to give you some analysis here, I think we're going to recover a little bit into the zone between 238 and 249-ish. We see a slight upwards movement here, but then I think I would expect one more down push. This downward move, the next one that we see, I think it should probably stay somewhere, well, between the 0.1618 at 618 pip level, so 217 and 195. If the next pullback lands somewhere between here, that might be a good buy zone for the next leg up. If we break that zone to the downside, then I think we can see lower levels. For now, my main scenario remains to the up, actually. So,
bro, yeah. you are like Iron Man with the charts, like just like moving around different tools on the screen. But you know what? I really want to talk about Trump. Can you believe that token was launched a week ago? It doesn't even feel, right? It feels like forever. But it's literally been what, 7 days?
7 days, yeah. Last week, remember, last week, recording, last episode of Soul Brothers, that was the main topic. We didn't talk about anything else.
Yeah, I mean, during the recording, it went from like $40 to like 60 or like 70, 60. Like literally in the hour that we recorded it, like pumped like another like 20 billion. It was insane.
Yep. And right now I think that's a typical meme coin chart, like it sees a lot of volatility at the beginning. Obviously this one saw a lot of volatility at the beginning. But then volume, slows down, the candles get smaller here. Not too much trading activity anymore. The RSI here, usually an indicator of, just overall bullish sentiment, just cools down as well. I think, let's see how this plays out in the long term. I don't think Trump is going to die the meme coin. It's going to die like one of the other memes that we see that just lose momentum completely. I think it will stay around. But it's kind of, right now, it became a boring asset.
I agree with you. It's not like a normal meme coin, but it's just super interesting when you think about, Trump is going to be president for another 4 years, right? And the unlocks start at about 3 months. So like that might be quite frankly, just kill the token depending on how they sell off. But just, we've never been in this situation before. So where like, I think the phrase that you used last week is that Trump is literally the biggest KOL in the world. There is no bigger KOL than Trump. And he sits, in the office of the president of the United States, POTUS, the most powerful man in the world. So that and his meme. Another thing I kind of noticed, which was quite interesting, is that even after the U.S., I think they announced that they're going to do not a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but I think it was like they called it a crypto, or no, they called it a digital asset stockpile. Right.
Yeah, there was a post from from the senator of Wyoming, I think. Where she
God bless Bitcoin.
Something very bullish for Bitcoin. And I think they are that's the big news, right? Adding Bitcoin to the strategic reserve. That's actually what people talk about. That is something that Trump, will most likely support. I found the post right now, so I'm just gonna show you what's up. She posted this, big things are coming, right? Stay tuned for 10 a.m. So basically an announcement for the announcement. Yes. And then it's already got a shit ton of views and everything. And people were like, oh fuck, next CA dropping, people were scouting for the CA. US Senator of Wyoming, right? The Republican, of course. And then the thing that happened was this one. So this is the future, and if the United States wants to remain a global leader in financial innovation, Congress needs to urgently pass bipartisan legislation establishing a comprehensive legal framework for digital assets that strengthens the US dollar with a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I'm humbled my colleagues have placed their trust in me to chair this historic subcommittee, and I look forward to shepherding bipartisan legislation to President Trump's desk this year that secures our financial future.
These states have always been very crypto forward. I'd say on the political spectrum, they're more libertarians than they are kind of like Trumpian Republicans, if that makes sense. They're much more about small government. They interestingly don't trust the US dollar that much, even though they are very much a part of our union. But that's why they have a real affinity for Bitcoin. There are a lot of Bitcoiners that live in Montana and Wyoming, and they were early because the libertarian, philosophical view fits very well with this idea of like a decentralized future in which there is no big brother, there is no centralized authority. It's like us, the people who are shaping our future. So like it totally makes sense that she would be from Wyoming.
That was actually something I didn't know. But obviously you have a bit more insights on what's happening on the US ground. So I think, Bitcoin Reserve, strategic Bitcoin Reserve makes a lot of sense in my opinion, because gold has been in there since a long time, and gold is the boomer asset for wealth preservation. It's definitely something that needs to be in the strategic reserve as the main commodity out there. But Bitcoin is the new kid on the block. It's a commodity that deserves equally respect. It is the digital gold, as we like to say. And I think now more than ever have institutions and governments acknowledged it all over the world. President Trump was on the call with the president of El Salvador the other day as well, talking about his journey in the Bitcoin world. And I think he's interested, right? And he's signing off these things right now that are pushing digital assets forward as an industry, and that are also kind of making the path for Bitcoin into a strategic reserve. This will add not just buy pressure, but it will add stability to the Bitcoin price. So I think we will see a much more mature asset in the next 24 to 48, let's say 12 to 24 months. The world is changing when it comes to digital assets. Bitcoin is definitely becoming more mature. But if we just look at the past 48 hours, Solana is also becoming more and more mature, because our key infra players on the block are developing amazing tech and shipping updates. And when I say that, I mean mainly Jupiter. The past 48 hours were dominated by Jupiter announcements on my timeline on Twitter. So that's why this podcast right now is dedicated mainly to Catstanbul. And I want you, Eno, to explain a little bit more about Catstanbul, because you have been there on the ground, not only as a visitor, but more importantly, as one of the crew members. It's literally written on your t-shirt right now.
Yeah.
Big capital letters, crew, Catstanbul. What have you done there on the ground? What was your role, for people that might not know that? And how would you describe the overall, let's say, feeling for everyone on the ground there? How did they feel about the conference? How do they feel about Jupiter as a project? And was Catstanbul, bottom line, a big success?
Yeah, I mean, let's take that piece by piece. And first, like, let's just talk a little bit more about what Jupiter is. And the reason why I feel like we need to spend some time here, Simon, is they have too many products now. Like, they have a lot. I'm genuinely curious. Like, what type of products do you use on Jupiter?
Well, I am always doing swaps on JUP. Let's say 90% of the time, I'm doing my job, my normal crypto swaps, right? Whenever I want to buy Solana with USDC and so on, I'm doing the swap function. I also do the DCA once in a while. So actually, since we have a new front end right here, I need to kind of look around right now. I don't even know where the DCA is anymore. But I find it. So I use the DCA function as well, just to buy basically crypto tokens at different prices in time. So with the dollar cost averaging, you can say, hey, I would like to buy $1,000 worth of Solana over the next 5 hours, and I would like to buy them every 30 minutes. And then the tool will automatically create orders every 30 minutes to fulfill your $1,000 basically buy, which is great if you're not sure about the future price movement of the token, and you will average buy the token. So DCA is something I'm using, and once in a while I also use the Jupiter Perps, which is futures trading using the Jupiter product, where you can use leverage to trade assets like Solana, Ethereum, or BTC.
Yeah, I mean, so their perps, it has gotten really big. I didn't realize how big Jupiter Perps has gotten. So I mean, like we can go into each piece, but the one fun fact I want to give is while I was helping create the presentation for Jupiter Perps, We were looking at an old slide deck that was used at the Hong Kong Hacker House like literally 3-4 months ago. And the lead of Jupiter Perps, anyhow, he told me, "Oh, this deck is not up to date." I'm like, "Okay, then like, what should the number be?" Because the deck said around 800 million. He goes like, "Oh, it is currently at 1.8 billion. So we grew 1 billion in the last 3 months. Very good, very good." And he just moved on and started talking about other stuff. And I'm like, "Bro, did you did you just say the last time you gave this presentation, you JLP has grown by like another that's insane, right? The amount of like Jupiter is really scaling in ways that I think we couldn't imagine before. And just to, I'd love to talk more about the conference, just like specifically the behind, because we can talk about the announcements and we will, like some of the key announcements, whether it be like token alignment or like actual product, like whatever question you have, like I'd love to answer that. But just want to, keep it a little bit light. I stole this. I stole Meow's fucking Catstanbul tag. And Meow,
Nice.
if you're watching this right now, fuck you. It's mine. So if you want it, you can pry it from my cold, dead hands. All right. That's a Grail merch. I'm wearing that to all the conferences.
That's great, man.
I know.
Meow 2.0.
Yeah. Dick move on my part. But you know what? It was just sitting there for hours. Actually, I would say overnight as well. I'm like, he has clearly forgotten this thing. I'm stealing it. So if you want it, I'll give it back. But, I'm keeping it. So going into the conference, like Soju had reached out to me. Soju and I go way back. He's one of the earliest supporters of ISC. ISC was a stablecoin protocol that I had founded like 3 years ago now. But yeah, he was one of our first early, I think also one of the first token holders of ISC as well. We just knew each other as friends, and over time, eventually he went to Jupiter, and he's seen me do some conference, like some hosting. I think you've seen me do some hosting as well, but much smaller conferences, quite frankly, even though Solana Summit is growing. And so like he just asked like, hey, we need help with kind of like agenda and general flow, as well as maybe like some coaching of the speakers, as well as like hosting the actual event. So making sure that it's smooth, the energy is high. But the one thing he didn't tell me was slides, right? So I'm gonna vent a little bit, and I don't care because Meow has tweeted about it. But like these motherfuckers did not work on any of the slides. Like there's only one team that did it. It was like Jupiter Mobile. Like they had their shit on point. But like everybody else was very much like, I have no slides, I have no presentation, I'm just winging this. And I'm like, bro, this is gonna be streamed all around the world. You cannot do that. So like the day before Catstanbul, it was until like 4 a.m., like from 8 a.m. to 4 a.m. I was like, I did 6 presentations from scratch. It was like, okay, here's the flow, here are the talking points, and then like let's practice. And like I would have to listen to the speakers and just kind of give them like one-on-one, like here's what you need to improve. But a lot of them didn't need a lot of help. They have plenty of public speaking experience already working for Jupiter. They talk about their products all the time, so it actually came quite naturally to them. But just creating the visual collateral was a pain in the fucking ass. And Meow, look, I know everyone on the team is telling you this. There's another person telling you this. Please do the slides 48 hours before. How's that? I'm not asking for too much. 48 hours before, man. This is ridiculous. But yeah, we didn't even have the agenda set the day before. It was like the day of. Yeah, I was like, we're going to change the order. What do you mean you're going to change the order? We just, with the speakers, but we made it work though. I think if you look at the on-stage product, it wasn't very noticeable. Like on our side, it was panic. But in terms of what we showed, the streaming product as well as what people saw, I think that we very much kind of kept it a little bit more buttoned up, and people didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. But yeah, it was a fucking pain in the ass.
I was looking at it once in a while. I mean, it was a long ass stream, right? Like that's basically the whole conference was streamed. So I tuned in once in a while, and it looked pretty professional from what I saw. The slide point, obviously there were some fuck ups here and there, wrong slides for that person, and then it takes a while, and the clicker not working and so on. How would you describe the feeling compared to things like Breakpoint? Like how was it to be on the ground at Catstanbul?
It was electric. It was electric. I felt this at Solana Summit. I think Solana Summit will also feels very electric. We're doing it in Da Nang this year. Breakpoint is also electric. This was on par with Breakpoint in my view, if not a little bit crazier. And the reason for this is the cats are nuts. All right, I'm telling you, the cats are actually nuts. And there's something about Meow's energy. I learned a lot, working with him. You know, he's infectious. He's aggressive. He's very aggressive, but that aggression inspires other people to also be, you know, aggressive in a positive way, I think. So yeah, I just people who have never, and also a lot of these cats have met each other online already. They're actually very intimately familiar with each other. It's just their first time meeting IRL. Another key difference too is that yes, there were builders at this conference, but it was very community heavy. I would say the majority of the attendees were community members. We had like 90% attendance. Over like 1,500 people came. I think those numbers might even be smaller than even bigger. Um, and also on the stream, we had like, I think at some points, like close to 200K, over like 200,000 people like tuning in and watching the programming. So it was just, yeah, different vibes, different. Everyone's very happy.
Big numbers, yeah, big numbers. The energy looks great. The numbers speak for themselves. Like lots of people in the stream, lots of people on site. How many people do you say were on site? It was like 1,400 people was the last number I
Over
read. Like
1,500. Day one, I think we had more people. We actually had so many people that we got at capacity, and like we clogged up the toilets. The toilets were clogged up for day two of Catstanbul because apparently we shit too much on day one.
No.
And hey, well, to be fair though, there were plenty of announcements, you know, worth shitting your pants over. There were so many fucking announcements on day one. Like, and that's truly what day one was all about. It was like, okay, what's the future of JUP.ag, which is like the suite of Jupiter products for every strategy, right? And then like what's the updates for the Jupiverse? Like what are all the partnerships and acquisitions? Like Jupiter like announced 3 acquisitions, which is like
so let's take a moment, and talk about a recap of Catstanbul. So I'm looking at a post from Kash right now, Kash Danda, who posted a recap of Catstanbul of I think day 1 mainly, and we have a few bullet points that you can go through of major announcements that have been made at the conference. And the first one I'm looking at is that Jupiter acquired a majority stake in Moonshot. Can you tell us a bit more about that and what's your opinion on this acquisition?
Yeah, Moonshot is a way for you to buy your first crypto, right? So they accept credit card payments. It's a very cracked team, so they haven't acquired the entire company. They've just bought a majority stake, but they've been working with them over the last few months. In fact, I'm fairly certain that if you go on the Melania website, they have the ability to pay with credit card. That's Moonshot, actually. You know, so Moonshot is being for the next few, you know, billion-dollar token launches by, I mean, because Donald Trump has opened the floodgates for normal, well, relatively normal celebrities to launch their own meme coins. And so, you know, they have the infrastructure for that. And part of that infrastructure is getting normies to onboard. And normies have, I should probably stop using the term normies. It's very condescending, but whatever. So muggles.
Normal people, whatever.
Muggles.
Much better.
Is
better.
that more condescending? I don't know. But yeah, but you know, my grandma, right? So yeah, my grandma would be able to, I hope she doesn't buy Trump using a credit card, but if she wanted to, she could. If she wanted to buy Melania with a credit card, she could. And that's all powered by Moonshot. So, you know, I heard great things internally about the Moonshot team. They're pretty cracked.
It was one of the magic triangle that made things like Trump happen. We had Meteora, we had Jupiter, we had Moonshot, right? And then together they were able to create this fully on-chain, experience of buying a token at such scale because people were able to buy it on-chain with a credit card using Moonshot. They were able to, put the liquidity that's needed for trading on-chain using Meteora. And they were able to do simple swaps back and forth using Jupiter as kind of the main backbone of everything.
This tweet is like a little all over the place. So like, let's talk about more acquisitions too. Yeah, because there's product and acquisitions kind of done in sequential order. But yeah, let's talk about Sonar Watch. How's that?
Sonar Watch, another acquisition that was, I think, a complete acquisition, if I'm not mistaken. So Jupiter acquired Sonar Watch.
Yeah. They acquired Sonar Watch. So the founder, Guillaume, is French, and he has done a lot of thankless work for portfolio tracking. And I say thankless because the only way a portfolio tracker can work is if the founder is continuously adding new DeFi integrations, which can be very easy for something as simple as like a USDC deposit in Camino, right? But it's actually very hard for, let's say, OR has OR boosts, right? So you can take your staked OR tokens and then put them inside a pool, and then they'll give you OR boosts, right? But or as much as I love the protocol and I'm a great supporter of them, I can't pretend like it's a very well-known DeFi integration. It's not like there's a ton of people using that, right? And so for me, like I have to yell at people like Yom to be like, please integrate this into your portfolio tracker. And there are thousands of these, by the way, all throughout the ecosystem. And so I say thankless because he's been grinding for years to just, hey, here's this random place that I deposited my tokens. Can you please track this for me, right? And so I think that he really deserves this. I'm so happy that he's going to be working under the Jupiter. He's going to be very much continuing his work. It's just with Jupiter's reach now and resources.
Yeah.
So this is amazing.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I think Sonar Watch itself, it's a great product as well, just to use. If you are active on chain and you're depositing funds in all kinds of DeFi protocols, so you're doing lending and borrowing on this protocol, you have some yield looping on another one, then you have the multiply function that we use on Camino. You put liquidity in a few liquidity pools all over the place on different dexes. Then you know how messy it can get. Like very quickly you just lose oversight over what the heck you did in the past with your funds. And if you use DeFi, usually you're depositing your funds in a protocol. That means they leave your wallet and they are locked in the protocol, and you have to actively get them out of there at some point. Otherwise, they just stay in there. And if you forget about your position, it happens quickly actually that you forget about your position, and then you just forgot that you have money somewhere. It's like forgetting that you deposited money in a bank account and forgetting about the bank account. It's insanely stupid, but it just happens so quickly because there's so many things you can do on chain, right? And we're playing around with stuff. We're doing something here, we're doing something there. Sonar Watch is your one-stop shop where you just plug in your wallet Addy. You don't even need to connect your wallet. You just copy paste your Addy, and then it gives you a great overview of every single thing you did so far on chain, where you have liquidity locked right now. And there will be moments where you will be like, oh, I forgot about this one. Nice, I have $500 in drift, that I forgot. Like I literally saw that. Like at some point I put my drift airdrop into staking and I left it there, right? And I don't remember that. So I saw that I still have some drift. So that's Sonar Watch. And I think, how do you think this fits into the Jupiter ecosystem? Is there anything that kind of sticks out to you, like why they acquired? Is the reasoning behind it, or do you think they just want to support major infra projects that are doing a good job on chain?
Yeah, that's another thing that really shocks me is, Jupiter works on a lot of things. And often what happens for bigger companies, like let's take Google, for example, right? You get scope creep. So you start working on a bunch of shit, but it's like, is this even relevant to what matters to me, right? Like, for example, I don't know, Google has a service where they publish books, for example. Like, does that really make Google money? I doubt it, right? So it's so dangerous for companies that are starting to scale. They start acquiring things they don't need.
Right.
But what I have found to be genius is I don't think that there's a single acquisition that Jupiter has made so far that doesn't make sense to some thesis, right? And so this larger thesis is every asset on chain tradable anywhere. We're going to talk about JUPNet later, which is a whole new suite of products that's going to be coming out. But to answer your question directly about Sonar Watch, it makes perfect sense for mobile, right? So Jupiter, in their quest to become the #1 DeFi protocol just in the world, not even on Solana, obviously has a wallet component to their experience. They want to be end to end, from getting your first crypto to trading, to opening perps, to security, making sure that the tokens that you're buying are the legitimate token and not like scam tokens that are created after the fact. So like it all fits under this larger umbrella. And so having a portfolio tracker for a mobile wallet, Jupiter Mobile, makes a ton of sense.
Sure. Yeah, it does fit in there. We can consider definitely strategic investment and not just some kind of investment that you do to make profits, right? And to make money on it. It's much more strategic one. Other acquisitions you want to touch on, before we go to some of the feature updates?
I'm not going to lie. I have been looking while we've been talking, and I can't find the third acquisition. I'm pretty sure those two were the biggest ones, though. And I don't even remember if we announced them, because I think that we were thinking about not announcing them. So very much, not important right now, because there are a bunch of product updates that are worth talking about.
For example, the first one, maybe Ultra Mode for best swap ever created. So there's something they announced, and I think it is already visible here. Like I have a new button that says Ultra, and I have a button that says Manual when I do more normal swaps. And as someone that wants to do a swap, right, I always like, as if I put my product glasses on and my product hat and I become a product guy, then I think of what job do I need to get done? That's what I think about when I want to do a product, right? What's the job that needs to be done? And the job that I want to get done here is swap my USDC to Solana. I don't really care about anything else. I just want to get the job done. So a good swap experience would be to create the best swap experience possible from getting from USDC to Sol, right? So not a big off, no price fluctuation, low fees, quick swap, things like this. And from my understanding, that's what Ultra is there for. It just helps me, to optimize everything around the swap so that it actually lands, right? That I get my swap through whatever load is on the Solana ecosystem right now, and that my slippage is also in a manageable way, so that I don't have a big price fluctuation when I actually click the swap button, and that I actually get $100 worth of Sol for 100 USDC. What would you add on this when it comes to the Ultra feature? Anything you want to add?
You are absolutely correct. Instant is, it has really two different modes, right? There's Instant Ultra and then Instant Manual. And it was built with the target traders in mind. So what the Jupiter team realized over the last few months, because they have a new JUP.ag lead, his name is Aaron. He's the ex-co-founder of CoinHall. But what they realized is that there's two types of traders. One, exactly like you said, they don't give a shit. They just want to swap and they want it to go through and no nonsense, right? And the second crowd is give me full control. I don't want you to take a single cent from me. I want to maximize my value on each trade. And so those two modes are meant to cater to those two types of users. Ultra is for people that are okay with, as long as it lands and it goes through, I'm happy. So they've been able to 10x the performance and reduce fees from 8 to 10%, which is phenomenal. They will charge up to a 0.1% fee. Up to is key here, right? Depending on the pair. For more exotic pairs, obviously it's going to be closer to 0.1%. But for Sol USDC, I heard it was like 5 bips. I could be wrong about that, but it's very, very low. And manual, no fees at all. And you get to set your slippage settings, whatever you want. When you go back into the swap experience, it'll actually save that you wanted to do manual and these were your slippage settings at the time. So like they're not forcing you to use Ultra and pay fees. Like if you use manual once, then your settings will get saved and you can continue to use your settings as intended. So it's literally just set it up once and you're good. I know that people are too lazy and they won't even do that, but I'm saying that option is available to you.
Yeah. I love the Ultra mode, honestly. Like if that gets my job done as quick as possible, I don't want to worry about it. I hit the button, and I because usually I just want to get the transaction through, right? That's something that has been a problem on Solana sometimes, and especially in periods of high traffic, you just can't land the transaction, especially on more exotic pairs. And the more that doesn't happen, the better. So pretty cool feature. I mean, looking at this one, if you find anything else you want to talk about at Kash's summary here.
Yeah, I actually think that there's 2 updates to perps that are super worth talking about. Actually 3. If you're not into perps trading but you want to get into it, I don't recommend it. But if you want, if you don't have a lot of capital, you don't have a lot of money, but you'd like to earn more money on the little money that you have. So for example, if you have like $100, but you want to trade like you have $1,000, you can do something called like 10x leverage. And a perps protocol will allow you to get that leverage. So you deposit, like say $100 worth of Sol, and then if you use the 10x leverage feature, it's usually a scale, you can choose how much leverage you want, 3x, 5x, 10x. It can give you exposure to, you take your 100 Sol, but now you're borrowing another $900 worth of Sol, but also that you need a liquidation price, right? So you will have a liquidation price. If the price of Sol goes beneath a certain dollar amount, then you'll lose your $100 that you put in originally, right? So the JUP's perps originally started as a GMX clone. GMX is a perps protocol on Ethereum, and then was kind of copy pasted onto Solana. A lot of problems there. Especially with Solana architecture, used to require 3 transactions to complete a perp, which means it would take 15 to 45 seconds for your order to fill. And if you're a perps trader, 15 to 45 seconds can be everything. You could lose everything in that small period of time. So that performance is unacceptable. They're working on new architecture they announced, so their perps are going to be lightning fast. Another huge update is limit orders. This wasn't possible in the past because they didn't have enough like money in JLP to provide liquidity at different price points, right? But now they have like $1.8 billion. I don't know, Simon. Do you think that's enough?
It'll be fine.
It'll be a problem if everyone is doing limit orders, but like you can estimate what percentage of your users is actually using limit orders. They have enough liquidity now to where they can insert, unutilized liquidity into specific price points, probably using Meteor as the backend tech, to be honest with you. So to execute perps at the price that you want. I think that's a really game-changing feature for a lot of perps traders that don't just want to be at their desk all the time and have a thesis, right? I don't know. Does that sound interesting to you? Being able to set like certain prices where you want to open a long or a short?
It is a key feature, honestly, to trading. So
yeah.
you need to. It's almost a requisite, right, for any kind of perp experience. So I think Jupiter is right now at a point where they have the strategic advantage of being big enough and wealthy enough to ship updates that are highly relevant at a fast speed. They are very dangerous for a lot of smaller competitors that are trying to do something similar, because we do have other perp dexes on Solana that are trying to, work in the same spot. But Jupiter, I think, it's needed right now to have aggressive competition that will accelerate innovation much faster. So I think we need that, and it's good. So let them ship, let them improve their product, because others have to follow, otherwise they die. So that's good. That's good for the ecosystem.
And just two more small updates to the protocol. Yep. And it's still like perps has got like some of the biggest updates, I think, out of all the updates. Yep. I mean, there's a lot of cool shit. Like JUPNet is going to be amazing, but in terms of like just a single product, like perps definitely got the best updates, in my personal opinion. Sorry, mobile team, I love you guys. Thank you for doing your slides on time, but still. So you can now get paid out in not only the underlying token, which was the only option before, but also USDC. So they finally figured that out. And that is big because like it sucks to come back to your wallet, positions closed at exactly what you wanted it to be, but now you have SOL and it dumped. I wanted to lock in my profit. That was the whole point. So now, it's awesome to be paid out in a stable asset. So I don't think they announced this on stage. Maybe I'm not allowed to say it. Whatever. This could be misinformation. I don't give a shit. I could be totally lying to you right now. But used to be USDT and USDC 50-50. I think they have completely migrated over the last few days. And if not by the end of the week, they'll be completely out of USDT. It's going to be 100% USDC.
Why is that? I mean, USDT is still a very big stablecoin.
USDT usage on Solana is negligible. USDC usage is growing exponentially. I mean, I don't know what exactly the internal thinking was. I have my own theories. Truly, I have no idea what they're thinking. But yeah, I was not really a big fan of USDT and how they don't seem very transparent to me. Just one man's opinion. USDT, Paulo, I know that you guys are Swiss Mafia, so like, don't come after me. Dude, I should probably stop talking shit.
Let's move on to the next one. Let's call it just all the topic.
No, last update. I swear to God, last update. For Jupiter perps, almost 90% of their stable coins are not being utilized because nobody wants to short in a bull market because no one wants to be a bear. So that's bad for JLP holders because they're earning no money on that. So do you know how much like dead capital there is in USDC?
How much?
$500 million. Not used.
Sitting around?
Just sitting. I mean, you have to have that kind of, you can't have 100% exposure to SOL, BTC, and ETH. Like you need stable coins as a part of the asset. So that's why they have it, right? But it's earning them no yield because it's used for shorts. And again, nobody is shorting. A short is essentially a position that says, I'm bearish on the market, but nobody is bearish right now. Everyone is bullish. So that's why it's $545 million just completely unused, right? So they're enabling, this is crazy, lending.
Right. So that's the feature that they talk about. That's something like JLP can be used to lend USDC.
Yeah, you take your JLP, you deposit as collateral, you get USDC. And JLP is I wouldn't say it's like the world's safest asset. And it does fluctuate a little bit, but I mean, from my perspective,
volatility is. If it's it is not as it's not as volatile as Solana, obviously, and it's not as stable as stablecoin. but it is one of the most stable assets on Solana if you don't want to hold stable coins and you want to get price appreciation, right? Through the whole JLP thing when it comes to the whole buyback announcement. So maybe do we want to talk about the buybacks now, about the JUP buyback? So it's more like a JUP topic.
There's two Jupiter tokens that matter, right? There's JUP, JUP, the OG, and then JLP, which is Jupiter Liquidity Provision Token, right? So that's for the perps. Those are the two different types of tokens that they have.
Right. So JLP is mostly used, or it is used. It's kind of it's basically providing liquidity for the perps protocol, right? So basically, if you buy JLP, you're enabling perps to work because you're providing liquidity to the protocol, and you're earning indirectly fees from the protocol by holding JLP, right? That is factually correct. Right? Now, there was a big announcement, or please add something, if you want to say something to the JLP mechanism. Is that correct, or?
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that your upside for JLP comes from three different sources. So the first source of upside comes from pure exposure to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, right? Because JLP contains those assets. So that's the first place where you get some upside. The second is, as you said, I think it's like 75 or 80% of the revenue. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's like 75 or 85% of the revenue from the protocol, perps protocol, goes back into JLP, right? 75. Super generous. And the third source of revenue now is going to come from the lending of USDC. That $545 million, you can lend it. So yeah, I just wanted to say that that's your upwards exposure to that's why it appreciates so much, but it stays relatively stable.
Yeah. So the price of JLP actually moves usually pretty good because basically you're getting exposure to Sol, ETH, BTC, and USDC and USDT, which is pretty much neutral. And you're also getting more, you're making more money if there's a lot of trading activity, because obviously there will be more profit and loss and more generated fees associated with that from opening and closing positions. And that usually puts up the price. So that's why if you look at the token itself, if you pull out like the JLP price right now on the screen, you see it moves generally down up and to the right. So it is a pretty nice chart, but it doesn't have like huge green candles, but it does move up and to the right in a very sustainable manner. But especially the past few days after the whole Trump kind of thing that happened, you saw bigger volatility also in the JLP pair, right, in the JLP token, because there has been crazier activity. And right now we also see a good retrace, by the way, right now from the Solana dump that happened right now, because Sol, ETH, and BTC right now went down, so JLP also went down. Now, the big announcement that was made on Catstanbul was that Jupiter's token JUP has now utility, kind of. I mean, not a utility, but it has a financial function that it didn't have before, because before it was almost. I mean, people always said it's kind of it's a bit of a shame that the actual success of the Jupiter protocol is not really reflected in the token. Like I've seen a few comments that were kind of bearish on the token because they didn't know where it will go. Because the only thing you can do with it is governance, and governance is great and very important. And Jupiter is definitely one of the best governance or the best governance protocols or mechanisms out there right now in crypto, in Solana crypto. But the active staking rewards from locking your Jupiter in the governance pool were the only thing really why you want to hold JUP, right?
Yeah.
Now, the big announcement was that 50% JUP buyback will happen. So for me, this means 50% of the generated fees through the Jupiter ecosystem will be used to buy their ecosystem native token JUP, which will add additional price or buying pressure on the token. Now, Fabiano.sol made a nice post about this, and he said, okay, Jupiter made over $10 million last weekend with perps only. Their revenue last year looked pretty bullish overall, like split between Jupiter perps, DCA, limit orders, partner swap APIs, so other protocols that are just using the Jupiter API to do swaps on their platform. And all this, added up usually to something like $17 million of revenue in November 2024, 8 million in October, 5 million in September. So, and that's the average numbers, right? It didn't really go below 5 million in the whole year of 2024 per month. So pretty bullish revenue. Now 50% JUP buyback, 50% of protocol fees to buyback JUP that will be held in the long-term litter box. 50% of that will be invested in growth, future strategy, and full operational stability. But the total buyback, the 50% of the fees, is obviously 50% buying pressure on the token. And that's a lot of money. What are your thoughts on the whole topic, and how do people feel about the buyback? Like what happened in the audience when he announced that?
Okay, so number one, like I had to keep this like super secret for a very long time, and I'm just so glad. But yeah, I had to keep that announcement a secret. The 50% juke buyback. I was so relieved when it finally came out because I was afraid I was going to say it casually, just while talking, like spill the beans. But yeah, it is as bullish as you think it is. That I talk shit a lot about other protocols that release tokens because I don't see any path to value accrual. I don't see any path to, okay, like how is this token going to be worth anything? Is this just a meme coin that's associated with the project, or is there actually going to be, some buy pressure from some mechanism, right? And I know also people talk shit about buybacks too. I think most people's thoughts on this are very schizophrenic. They're like, spend all that money on developing things. Look, guys, I don't know what more you want from Jupiter. They already are spending millions of dollars on the best developers. A Jupiter research fund was announced. I think they're putting like 10 million Jupe or something like that. Not only that, but also like a magic fund for AI. They have acquired 3 different teams. They've released a completely new concept, like I don't know how to refer, a chain essentially, JupeNet. I mean, they're spending all the money that they already have, and now they want another 50% for buy pressure on the token. I think that's reasonable. I've heard people complain about like, don't do buybacks. It's all like, guys, then where do you want me to spend the money? Jupiter, I mean, they're already spending all the money, so, and they're doing a good job with it. They actually have ROI. They're not spending on like F1 sponsorships. They're spending it on like actual product and hiring the best talent and shipping and this conference. So
I saw it coming, by the way. Like I opened my long to JUP before everything started because I knew there's going to be something. I was in like 3-4K profit at some point. I was like, okay, it's going to rip more. So I set my stop loss at around 1K profit, and I got stopped out because there was this stupid kind of, after the first day, there was this stupid red candle that stopped me out. And then they announced Jupiter buyback, and then it fucking ripped. And I was like, fuck my life. Anyway, that's it's always the same shit. But I mean, I made my profits. I'm okay. But long story short, buyback, I think it's a great thing if you have the money to do it, right? If you spend all your revenues on buybacks, it's kind of a net negative for the whole, like for your whole protocol, because you're just spending the money you make to buy your own token to then artificially increase the price of your token. But then you will have to sell your own token at some point again to make the money back that you just spent to buy it, because you need to pay for operation expenses. So that is not good. But on the flip side, if you make as much money as Jupiter makes, it is totally reasonable to spend half of it on buybacks to then give back to the community by pumping the price up, which is great for everyone that holds Jupe. And it's finally a reason to hold Jupe that is very clear to understand for everyone. Because if you're bullish on Jupiter, if you think they will make a lot of money and they will keep growing, then you want to hold the asset that they have, right? And if you're holding the asset, then you can might as well also put it into staking. So I think they will see more staking now, more Jupiter ASR. They will see more governance participation because more people will put the Jupe that they now have into staking. So long story short, I think it is a pretty bullish thing. I didn't expect 50%. I was more looking to like 10, 20, something like this. But they actually did 50, which is pretty big. That's cool. I think that's pretty bullish. What I don't understand, and maybe you can explain to me, if not, maybe Morten or anyone in the community can explain to me, write me in the comment section. So 75% of perps fees are going to JLP, right? Now 50% of all Jupiter kind of revenue after the 75% of JLP are taken for JLP. Otherwise, JLP would now suffer from the buybacks of the Jupiter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not bearish at all, because the JLP fees remain the same. It's still 75%. And let's be very clear. I mean, this is obvious if you think about it, but like maybe you haven't heard this explicitly to people in the audience. Simon already knows this, but it's perps is what's printing for Jupiter now. You see what I mean? Like Perps is Jupiter's Google search engine. They lose money on the swaps, by the way. They've been losing money on the swaps for years. The swaps have been free forever. This up to 0.1% fee that they're charging now is like the first time that they've ever done it. And it's for the ultra experience. You don't even have to pay that fee. You can do manual if you want to. So yeah, they've been losing money on swaps for years. Perps is the only thing that like really prints money for Jupiter. And they fucking deserve it, I think. Like when they first started the Perps protocol, like total Perps volume in all of Solana was only 10 million a day. That's all it was, right? And now Jupiter alone sometimes is doing like 2 billion a day, which is like, you know, crazy. 75% of that goes into JLP, which is why when you look at JLP's chart, it goes up and to the right, because even though ETH, Solana, and Bitcoin can be quite volatile, you know, it's not just pure exposure to those tokens. You got stable coins in the mix, and then you also got additional fees. So that's why it continues to increase. It's not just about, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana exposure. If you're looking for a stable-ish asset that will provide you some very healthy yield for, depending on how much you trust Jupiter. I mean, if you don't trust them, that's okay. But if you do trust them, it's a great opportunity to hold a token and just get something that appreciates like 50%, 75%, 100% a year. It just kind of depends on the market conditions. Anyways, the numbers get a little fucky here, but it's like 75% goes into JLP, 25% goes to Jupiter, right? And they've been using that to do a bunch of stuff that's been worth it. They've been growing the protocol like crazy. Now they're of that 25%, like 12.5% of that, you know, of all the revenue they make, yeah, goes into buying back a JUP. Yeah. And then they're taking that JUP and they're going to use 50% of it for other shit. So it's like, I mean, the amount of thinking here is just it's pretty insane. I think one thing that Meow does very right. So if there are any founders that are listening right now, I really implore you we should all do this. I think this is a very genius idea. If you fund a DAO or a community with your own token, never allow them to sell that token to pay for shit. Like, use that token to align people, right? So what that means is like, of the USDC or stablecoins that you have, give that to your DAO or your community to run it, to pay expenses. When they pay expenses, they should be paying it using a stable asset, right? But of course, they're also going to have some allocation of your native token. So in this case, it could be Solid for Simon because he works at Solana. Well, he's the founder of Solana ID, so they have the Solid token. And then for Jupiter, they have the JUP token. So you can give both a USDC and a JUP allocation to your DAOs or your community. Just never allow them to use the native token as the asset that you sell to pay for stuff. Psychologically, it fucks up how people think about the token, and it's also bad for token price, right? So you should only ever spend USDC to pay for like operations, but you should have, you know, like a native token like Solid, for example, allocation to like a DAO or an organization, because you use that to align people. It's like, hey, you are a part of the Solid family now, so let me give you Solid tokens, but it's not for you to sell, it's for you to, you believe, you want the exposure. And that's something that he hammered home, like not just internally, but also externally. And it's something that I strongly believe now, and I think that we should do more of. Don't allow your communities to sell your token to pay for stuff.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, I agree with that actually. As a founder of protocol that owns a token, it makes a lot of sense to me, and I agree fully. You know, we have JupNet still on the agenda here. Can we take a second and talk about JupNet, the liquidity layer?
Yeah. So this one is a doozy. I actually don't understand all the parts of it. I think that there are plenty of things that'll change over time. I do not understand the architecture. I have to study this more. But the long and the short of it, why does this matter? Is it allows for a sex-like trading experience, right? Because how does it feel like to trade on a sex? You don't really care about the chain. You're just trading on Binance, right? And so like, Binance takes care of all the nitty gritty on their side of, you know, swapping from Solana to base USDC. Like you could do this very easily, right? And this architecture allows you to do it in a permissionless, decentralized way. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know any of the technology that has allowed them to allow for interoperability with literally every chain, but apparently they cracked the code. And that's what JupNet is going to be. It's going to be its own website, right? And it's going to give you a sex-like experience. The UI, it's going to be different from jup.ag, which is their kind of like existing swaps and stuff. That'll be for pure DeFi people who are like on chain. And don't get me wrong, JUPNet is also going to be super on chain as well, but the experience is going to be different because you're trading like between different chains. I'm sure they're going to have an onboarding flow as well.
For people that want to have more background to what JUPNet is, meow.bio/JUPNet.html is the blog post from the founder, from Meow, where he gives like, it's not a deep dive, it's not a white paper or something, but he gives a good overview of what JUPNet is. An omni-chain network that aims to aggregate all of crypto in one single decentralized ledger. Very ambitious task, obviously, but if someone can do it, then probably Jupiter, because now they're breaking out of the being the DEX, the major DEX on Solana. They're breaking out into an omni-chain network, aggregating all of crypto in a single ledger. And he explains like 3 core components of the of JUPNet: the decentralized oracles that validate and execute, DOF network. I love the naming convention, by the way, of crypto. Decentralized oracles that validate and execute, DOF. The core design is simple: a single decentralized source of truth that are agreed on by the birds, regardless of how many chains there are. Since the birds also verify internal state and also execute on transactions elsewhere, the final state of the world is exactly what the final state of agreement between the DOFs is. It's kind of a complex idea. Read through it if you want to get the full picture. He extends the omni-chain ledger network as well, and something that I'm very interested in as well is ADI, the aggregated decentralized identity, because identity, as always, and I can probably, I'm a good person to confirm that, is something that's needed for improving the UX in crypto as well, because you want to have one account that you can use all over crypto, ideally similar to like a single sign-on with Google that you can use all over Web2, where you can, reset your password if you lose it, where you have your passkeys from Apple neatly integrated and so on. And they are envisioning this vision as well. They want to have no seed, but if you want to, you can generate and recover keys, but there's no need for seed. No single service can rug you, not even Google, Apple, or Phantom. And your identity gains the power to customize access control. Different systems can control and manage assets for the same account. And then there needs to be systems implemented in this ADI, like 2FA and so on as well. So lots to unpack. We could probably do a full episode on the JUPNet, ideally with someone from Jupiter on the stream. I think that would be a nice episode that we will do in the future as well. I think that's very likely to do. There's just not enough detail out there yet. They announced it. They told us what it's about. It's enough to make us bullish, but we can't really digest fully what Meow is up to. And I think the best one to talk about this is either himself or someone from the team.
The co-founder of Solana FM, which was also acquired by Jupiter around Breakpoint, he's now running JUPNet. His name is Nicholas. He, in my opinion, gave one of the top 3 talks during the entire event. I think that he was incredibly articulate. I'm just too dumb to understand what he's talking about. But in essence, it does give you a sex-like experience in a decentralized way with you could use like Google or Facebook to log in. You can also get you can recover from there. It doesn't rely on a single service. You can customize your security settings based on, if you want convenience, then less security. But if you want to go full security, it'll be a little bit more cumbersome to log in. But it's worth it for the security, right? And that's why they acquired a small stake or actually the majority stake in Moonshot. They're trying to allow you to. I mean, it's the same way that you would buy crypto on a SEX. So if anybody could create the decentralized Binance, it is Jupiter, and I'm so excited for Nicholas, Meow, the entire team. They're working very hard. 3 billion JUP burned, which is why we did Burning Cat, right? 3 billion JUP burned, and it was done.
It was actually important.
Meow is hilarious, by the way. He's like, because a normal person would burn it and then announce it, right? Meow's like, we're doing this live.
Just wow. I mean, they prepared for it, right? It was on the agenda. You guys lit up a whole fucking huge statue of a cat on site. That actually happened. Like, I've seen the pictures. So pretty insane. 3 million tokens, so almost $3 million worth of Jupiter.
Yeah. Why didn't the price just increase astronomically? It's because they already had the JUP. It's not like they're buying it on the open market. So I think that some people might get a little confused by that, and fair enough, right? But still, it is very bullish that you will not have 3 billion, 300 billion, that'd be crazy. 3 billion tokens just like selling into the market constantly. There's like, you remove the possibility of sell pressure for 3 billion tokens, which is 30% of the,
And
that's
same.
huge.
And it was a community decision, right? There were two proposals in the Jupiter DAO prior to this event. The first proposal didn't went through. They did some changes to it. They did a new proposal, and eventually the community consensus was in favor of the burn.
I actually think it'd be great if we get someone from Jupiter. Hopefully, I've built up enough goodwill. We'll get someone on the podcast to like tell us more about some of the things that we might have missed or the things that they're most excited about. It was a incredibly huge honor to be able to work on this. I don't even know why I was considered, but very happy to have been a part of it. And yeah, just very thankful. And it was a lot of fun. The energy the entire time was positive. I know that there were people, we had some issues with the lines because we had over 90% attendance. And guys, to give you context, that never fucking happens. I've hosted, at least 5-6 events at this point as a core organizer. And I've been to, at least 15 different, crypto events at this point over the last 2 years, mostly just Solana. And attendance is always 50 to 60% of people who register, always. People just don't come, right? So the fact that the cadets showed up, 90% of them, and actually I've never seen it before. So the point is that that's why the toilets were backed up. I think that we that was a pain in the ass. And also a lot of people had to wait in line for a very long time to get in. We were at capacity at certain moments, which was, we had planned for everything, but yeah, that was just not something that we did not expect, 90% attendance.
Thanks for everyone for tuning in. As always, we're trying to keep you up to date on everything that happens on Solana. And right now, Jupiter happened. So that was important. We ran you down through all the details. So yeah, stay positive, guys. Markets are dumping right now, but I think we are all on fire and we don't really get concerned with that too much because people are shipping. And when people are shipping, we stay bullish. Eno, thank you so much for appearing after this exhausting conference. I appreciate that. Get some sleep, brother. Recover a little bit, but it seems like you're totally fine. So yeah, thanks for showing up as energized as always. Thanks everyone in the stream for showing up and for our lovely listeners as well to tune in into this new episode. And we'll see you at the next one next week. Peace out.
Bye.